Hello there and welcome to the Sleepy Midnight Theory. Tonight, as we drift into the quiet world of mountains, you'll discover the most astonishing secrets hidden within their ancient stones, how they rise slowly toward the sky, the mysterious forces that shape them, and the countless forms of life that cling gently to their slopes. These towering giants have watched the earth change for millions of years, holding stories older than the oceans and memories carved by wind, ice, and time itself. So settle in, let your thoughts wander like mist through a silent valley, and prepare to explore the peaceful wonders of mountains, where the planet breathes slowly, and every ridge, shadow, and whisper of wind reveals something magical and unseen. Ancient origins. In the beginning of Earth's long and wandering story, mountains rose slowly from the planet's shifting crust, some forming over 3.5 billion years ago. These ancient guardians have watched ages pass in silence, shaped by gentle winds, patient rain, and the slow passing of time itself. Many of the mountains we see today were once far taller, worn down over millions of years not by violence, but by nature's soft and constant touch. Some were born when continents drifted together with the calm persistence of drifting clouds, quietly pushing stone toward the sky. Others formed deep beneath prehistoric oceans, lifting fossils of ancient sea creatures high above the clouds. Some mountains were sculpted from volcanic fire, rising in sudden bursts before settling into quiet stillness. Every ridge and peak carries a memory of an Earth that existed long before us, holding the stories of countless forgotten worlds, record-breaking mountains. Across the world, great mountains stand like silent milestones in nature's vast timeline. Everest towers above them all, yet even it holds secrets from its time beneath ancient seas. Mauna Kea, rising from the ocean floor, is even taller when measured from its hidden base, while Chimborazo reaches closer to the stars thanks to Earth's gentle curve. The Andes stretch endlessly along a continent's spine, and the Rockies rise like ancient, weathered bones of the Earth. Kilimanjaro stands alone on the African plains, crowned with snow despite the warm world around it. And deep in Antarctica, entire mountain ranges sleep beneath thick blankets of ice, unseen and untouched. These mountains break records not through volume or noise, but by the quiet meaning they carry, each a masterpiece shaped by time. Growth and erosion. Mountains grow and shrink in a slow, steady rhythm, almost like the breathing of the earth itself. Tectonic forces lift them upward grain by grain, while wind, water, snow, and ice wear them down with gentle persistence. Glaciers carve deep valleys as they glide forward inch by inch, while freeze-thaw cycles crack rocks with the delicate precision of nature's slow clock. Rivers dig pathways through stone, creating winding canyons and polished cliffs. Some mountains rise suddenly with the jolt of an earthquake, while others grow gradually from volcanic ash and lava. Though they stand tall and strong, mountains are never still. They are always changing, always shifting, always becoming something new. Snow, ice, and glaciers high on the shoulders of mountains. Snow gathers in soft layers that hold the world's largest stores of fresh water. Glaciers flow like frozen rivers, moving so slowly that their movement feels like the deep pulse of the planet. Some glaciers are older than recorded history, preserving bubbles of ancient air within their ice. As they glide forward, they shape the land, carving valleys, smoothing stone, and leaving behind deep blue lakes. Snow reflects sunlight with quiet brilliance, and in the stillest places, ice forms whispering caves and crystal chambers that never melt. When winter snow becomes summer water, it travels down the mountains to feed rivers, lakes, forests, and cities, carrying life from the quiet heights to the busy world below. Mountain weather. Mountains breathe weather into existence. As moist air climbs their slopes, clouds gather and drift like blankets wrapping around their shoulders. In valleys, cold air settles softly at night, creating pockets of silence and mist. Storms appear suddenly, shaped by unseen currents twisting around jagged peaks. Winds strengthen as they rise, moving trees and snow with gentle hands. On the dry sides of mountains, rain fades into quiet desert silence. Higher up, sunlight grows sharper, shadows grow longer, and temperatures can shift in a heartbeat. Thunder echoes through mountain corridors with a deep, rolling voice, while lightning dances along ridgelines far above the world below. Every mountain holds its own weather, unique, fragile, and ever-changing. Plants and ecosystems, mountains cradle entire worlds on their slopes. At low elevations, forests rise tall and full of life, but as you climb higher, the trees grow smaller, giving way to mossy cloud forests wrapped in mist. Alpine meadows bloom with tiny flowers that survive only a few precious weeks each year. Lichens cling to cold stone, painting the rocks with soft patterns of gray, green, and gold. Some trees grow slowly in thin, chilly air, taking centuries to reach their full height. The soil becomes shallow and sparse, yet wild grasses dance in the wind with quiet resilience. Life clings to every crevice, adapting, surviving, and thriving in the thin line between sky and stone. Animals of the mountains, in the high places where the air grows thin and cold, animals have evolved to move with silence and grace. Snow leopards travel across icy ridges without leaving a sound, their pale fur blending with the rocks and snow. Mountain goats climb vertical cliffs as if walking on flat ground, guided by hooves that grip stone with perfect balance. Eagles nest high on unreachable ledges, riding the wind with powerful wings. Yaks carry warmth in their thick coats and deep lungs. Pikas gather tiny piles of plants for winter storage, while marmots whistle warnings across open meadows. Even insects and butterflies find ways to live at heights where few creatures dare to wander. Life in the mountains is quiet, resilient, and deeply connected to the rhythm of the land. Hidden mountain worlds. Beneath the surface of mountains lie hidden worlds filled with strange beauty. Crystal-lined caves shimmer like halls of frozen starlight. Underground rivers carve secret channels through ancient stone, flowing in darkness for thousands of years. Veins of quartz and minerals thread through the mountains like glowing pathways. Lava tubes stretch beneath volcanic slopes, forming long, silent tunnels. Ancient cave paintings sleep in sheltered caverns, protected by time and stone. Lakes fed by melting glaciers rest like still mirrors in deep basins, some with no rivers leading in or out. Fossils embedded in the rock whisper stories of animals that lived long before humans ever walked the earth. In these hidden spaces, the mountain reveals its quiet heart. Human history and culture. For thousands of years, mountains have been sacred guardians to the people who live beneath them. Mount Fuji stands as a symbol of purity in Japan, its symmetrical shape inspiring art, poetry, and pilgrimage. The Himalayas cradle ancient monasteries where monks meditate in complete silence. Across continents, early civilizations built temples on high peaks to feel closer to the sky. Mountain passes became trade routes, connecting distant cultures. Herbs from alpine slopes were used in healing rituals, and stories of mountain spirits were passed down through generations. Many cultures believed the mountains themselves were alive, wise, ancient beings watching over the land. To this day, people still look to them with reverence and quiet awe. Unbelievable mountain wonders. Mountains hold rare and magical phenomena that feel like pieces of a dream. Some peaks seem to sing when the wind slips through cracks in the stone. Golden and pink light bathes mountaintops during sunrise and sunset, painting them in colors that last only moments. Disc-shaped clouds hover over peaks like floating islands in the sky. Shadows stretch impossibly far across the land, forming shapes that seem too large to be real. Volcanic mountains can rise suddenly from the earth, born in days instead of centuries. Some peaks shift slightly each year as the ground below them moves. And in the highest, quietest places, weather systems drift around mountains like dancers, shaping the skis in soft, swirling patterns. Mountain mysteries and phenomena. Some mountains seem to whisper with mysteries untouched by time. During certain winds, they produce deep humming tones that echo across the valleys. Strange lights sometimes dance above peaks before earthquakes, shimmering quietly in the night sky. Cloud inversions turn entire valleys into seas of white, leaving mountaintops floating like peaceful islands. Diamond dust sparkles in the air on the coldest mornings, tiny crystals drifting like powdered stars. Moonbows, rainbows lit only by moonlight, curve gently above quiet slopes. Shadows grow into enormous silhouettes that tower across the sky, a rare illusion known as the Brocken specter. Sound travels strangely along ridges, making distant whispers feel close. Even electromagnetic energy gathers around some volcanic peaks, filling the air with unseen currents. These mysteries give mountains a feeling of ancient magic, something felt but never fully understood. Volcanic mountains begin in the fiery depths of the earth, where molten rock rises slowly through hidden chambers. Some volcanoes erupt with sudden force, forming new land in moments, while others grow quietly over thousands of years. Underwater eruptions create entire islands that rise like newborn mountains from the sea. Volcanic ash settles on the land, forming rich soil where forests eventually take root. Around the world's edges lies the Ring of Fire, where most of Earth's volcanoes sleep, simmer, or awaken. In a few rare places, lava lakes glow like pools of living fire. Basalt columns form when lava cools slowly, creating perfect geometric shapes that look sculpted by hand. Even dormant volcanoes carry the memory of their last breath of flame, standing silent but powerful against the sky. Climate and seasons. Mountain climates are delicate and ever-changing, shifting like moods in the air. Snow falls heavily in winter, layering peaks in soft blankets of white. During the warmer months, melting ice forms streams that sparkle down the slopes. In clouds, tiny droplets gather on leaves and branches, giving cloud forests their quiet, misty beauty. High ridges can experience sun, rain, wind, and snow all in a single day. Thin air makes breathing harder, and oxygen grows scarce the higher you climb. Winter lasts longer in the mountains, sometimes more than 8 months, while summer appears briefly, bringing life into bloom before fading again. Each season paints the mountains differently, creating patterns that only the patient observer will ever witness. Mountain landscape features. The mountains are shaped by time into a tapestry of natural designs. Cirques form deep, bowl-like hollows carved by ancient glaciers. Arêtes rise like sharp, rocky spines between valleys. Horn peaks sharpen to dramatic points where glaciers once met, creating iconic shapes like the Matterhorn. Fjords stretch inland where mountains once merged with ice-filled seas. U-shaped valleys mark the slow retreat of ancient glaciers, now home to rivers and meadows. Hanging valleys spill into waterfalls that shimmer in the sunlight. Moraines rise as natural ridges, formed from rocks that glaciers carried and gently deposited over centuries. Tarn lakes rest quietly in glacial basins, their waters calm and glassy. High plateaus stretch like enormous stone tables, offering wide-open views to the endless sky above. Rare mountain animals. Life in the mountains adapts in extraordinary ways. Snow leopards leap across icy gaps with silent strength, dissolving into the landscape with their pale fur. Mountain goats balance on ledges so narrow they seem impossible to stand upon. Andean condors glide effortlessly on mountain winds, their wings stretching wider than any other land bird. Pikas gather tiny bundles of wildflowers to store for winter, while Himalayan tahr climbs steep cliffs with ease. Certain frogs freeze solid during winter, returning to life when the warmth of spring arrives. Butterflies dance along snow lines, living in places where the air is thin and crisp. Wolves grow thicker fur to travel through frozen valleys, while marmots whistle from rocky burrows before retreating into long, deep hibernation. The animals of the mountains live in harmony with the quiet, fragile balance of high-altitude life. Sacred sites and legends. Mountains have always held a special place in human imagination. Ancient stories describe them as bridges between earth and the heavens. Mount Olympus was believed to be the home of gods, their voices drifting through the clouds. Mount Kailash remains sacred to multiple religions, untouched and revered as a symbol of purity. In Japan, pilgrims climb Mount Fuji in silent reflection. In the Himalayas, monasteries cling to cliffs, glowing softly at sunrise. Indigenous tribes believed mountains were alive, old spirits watching over the land. Some peaks were thought to hold portals to other worlds or to guard the secrets of creation. Through myths, legends, and rituals, mountains became symbols of strength, wisdom, and the quiet presence of something greater than ourselves. Exploration and survival for generations, explorers and travelers have ventured into the mountains, guided by curiosity and courage. Early climbers relied on handmade ropes and wooden tools, climbing slowly up icy slopes. Sherpas gained legendary strength and endurance, helping adventurers reach heights few had ever seen. Ancient trade routes crossed ridges and valleys, connecting distant societies. The first ascent of Everest in 1953 marked a turning point in human exploration, a moment when the world looked upward in awe. High-altitude sickness challenges anyone who climbs too quickly, reminding us that mountains demand patience and respect. Shelters built on steep peaks offer protection from fierce winds and shifting storms. Mountaineers carry axes, ropes, and heavy packs as they move carefully across cracking ice and deep snow. Survival in the mountains requires skill, humility, and a deep connection to nature. Beautiful and rare mountain landscapes in the world's high places, mountains create some of the most breathtaking and peaceful landscapes on Earth. At sunset, shadows stretch slowly across valleys, creating long shapes that drift like quiet rivers. A soft glow of pink and gold, alpenglow, rests gently on the peaks, lasting only a short moment before fading. Frozen waterfalls hang like shimmering blue curtains. Some lakes turn a bright shade of turquoise as minerals from melting glaciers swirl through their waters. Peaks remain crowned with snow even in warm seasons, shining like white fire under the sun. In still air, clouds settle into valleys, forming a silent sea of mist, with mountain tops rising like islands above it. At night, thin air reveals countless stars, glowing more clearly than anywhere below. Moonlight drapes across ridges, turning the world silver and still. From the summits, you can see multiple horizons stretching endlessly, layers of land, sky, and silence fading gently into the distance. Mountain forests and their secrets forests cling to mountainsides like deep green blankets, woven from ancient trees and whispering winds. Pines and firs rise proudly, their needles carrying the scent of resin and earth. Mushrooms glow faintly under fallen logs, and tiny insects weave worlds unseen. In the hush of early morning, sunlight filters through branches like golden rain, awakening creatures hidden through the night. Every root, every leaf, every shadow holds a secret, stories of growth, survival, and quiet, enduring harmony. Alpine meadows in bloom. Above the tree line, meadows burst into life each summer, painted with wildflowers that dance in the cool breeze. Purples, yellows, and reds spread across the grass like pigments on an artist's canvas. Bees hum between blossoms, and marmots watch from their burrows with curious eyes. The air smells of sweetness and stone, of warmth carried in fleeting moments. Here, the world feels soft despite the rugged cliffs rising on all sides. The songs of mountain winds wander through the mountains like eternal travelers. They whistle over ridges, sigh through forests, and howl through narrow passes. Sometimes warm, sometimes icy, they shape snowdrifts, sculpt spires, and carry distant scents, from blooming valleys to frozen peaks. Their voices are ancient, telling tales in tones only the mountains fully understand. Mountain wildlife and their journeys from soaring eagles to nimble goats, mountain creatures move with quiet mastery. They know every ledge, every hidden trail, every whisper of danger carried on the air. Some migrate across vast distances, guided by instinct older than memory. Others remain year-round, braced against storms and silence. Their survival is a testament to resilience, and watching them reminds us of nature's enduring grace. Snowfields and winter silence. Winter blankets the mountains in a hush so deep it feels sacred. Snow smooths every jagged edge, turning cliffs into gentle curves and forests into dreamscapes. Footsteps vanish quickly, swallowed by new snowfall. Only the crunch of ice, the creak of frozen branches, and the distant rumble of avalanches break the stillness. In this season of quiet, the mountains rest. The changing of mountain seasons. Each season arrives with its own mood and rhythm. Spring melts the snow with sparkling streams. Summer brings warmth, life, and color. Autumn paints slopes with gold and fire. Winter returns with its cool embrace. The mountains endure each shift patiently, welcoming change as a constant companion. Here, time is marked not by clocks but by transformations. Clouds and weather on high peaks. Clouds gather and disperse around peaks like restless spirits. Some cling to summits, wrapping them in mist. Others drift by in streaks of white and copper, catching the sun's glow. Storms appear without warning, fierce yet fleeting. Lightning dances along ridges. Thunder rolls through valleys like ancient drums, and rain refreshes the earth with rhythmic grace. Ancient stone and geological memory. Mountains are the bones of the earth, forged from fire, pressure, and time beyond imagining. Layers of rock tell stories millions of years old, of oceans that once covered continents, of continents that collided, of forces that shaped the very land beneath us. Every cliff, ridge, and boulder is a record of history, waiting patiently to be read. Trails woven by time, paths wind through mountains like threads connecting past and present. Some were carved by animals, some by ancient travelers, and others by modern explorers. Each trail carries footsteps from countless journeys, echoes of laughter, struggle, hope, and discovery. Hiking them, one feels part of something timeless. Mountain villages and traditions nestled in sheltered valleys or perched on steep slopes. Mountain villages hold cultures shaped by altitude and isolation. Wooden houses with sloping roofs stand resilient against storms. People gather to share stories, songs, and meals rich with warmth. Traditions endure here, festivals honoring nature, crafts passed down through generations, and hospitality that glows like a hearth in winter. Mountain storms and their power. Storms in the mountains arrive with breathtaking intensity. Winds roar between peaks, rain crashes against stone, and clouds churn like living beings. Lightning illuminates the world in stark, brilliant flashes, followed by thunder that shakes the very ground. Yet after the chaos passes, the air feels washed clean, renewed. The stillness after a storm. When storms fade, a profound calm settles across the mountains. Water droplets sparkle on leaves, mist rises gently from the earth, and the sky emerges in soft blues and purples. Animals step cautiously from their shelters, and streams run fuller and clearer than before. The stillness feels like a blessing, an invitation to breathe deeply. Mountain sunrises. As dawn breaks, light spills over summits in waves of pink, gold, and orange. Shadows retreat slowly, unveiling valleys in soft glows. Birds greet the new day with songs carried on crisp air. Watching the mountains awaken fills the heart with quiet hope, each sunrise a gentle reminder of renewal. Mountain sunsets evenings paint the sky with warm hues, draping peaks in amber and crimson. The world softens as day slips into night. Long rays stretch across slopes, making snow gleam like molten silver. As darkness approaches, the mountains seem to exhale, content and serene, ready to surrender to night's embrace. The call of high places there is a magnetic pull to high altitudes, a calling felt not in the ears but in the soul. Peaks seem to whisper promises of clarity and freedom. Many who climb them seek perspective, challenge, or peace, and often find all three. The journey upward is both physical and deeply personal, a dialogue between the human spirit and the sky. Mountain shadows and light. Light behaves differently in the mountains, shifting constantly as the sun moves across the sky. Shadows stretch dramatically, carving patterns across ridges and valleys. Reflections shimmer in lakes, doubling the beauty of the world. Even the darkest nights glow faintly with starlight reflected off snow. Here, light and shadow dance in a perpetual rhythm. The mountain whisper of time. Time moves slowly among peaks. Rocks erode grain by grain, glaciers creep meters over decades, and forests grow in quiet persistence. Yet for all this slowness, the mountains change ceaselessly. They teach patience, reminding us that transformation can be gentle, steady, and profoundly powerful, the legacy of the mountains. Mountains stand as symbols of endurance, beauty, and wisdom. They nurture ecosystems, shelter cultures, inspire art, and guide travelers. Their presence shapes weather, landscapes, and dreams. As we explore and protect them, we become part of their ongoing story. Mountains remind us that we belong to the earth, and that its wonders are both fragile and eternal. Echoes in the valleys. Deep valleys cradle sound the way ancient libraries cradle stories. A single call, whether a shepherd's whistle, a child's laughter, or the distant crack of falling rock, travels far, bouncing from cliff to cliff until it fades into a soft murmur. Even footsteps seem louder here, amplified by walls of stone shaped over thousands of years. At dusk, when the air cools and the world grows quiet, the valleys fill with a lingering echo of the day, a gentle reminder that every sound leaves its trace on the land. Mountain rivers and their tempers. Mountain rivers begin as timid trickles in high meadows, gathering strength as they weave through gorges. Their waters sparkle with glacial clarity, hiding both gentleness and raw force within their depths. In calm moments, they murmur over smooth stones, carrying reflections of sky and cloud. But after storms or seasonal melt, they roar with wild energy, churning white foam and flinging spray into the air. Each bend in the river tells a story of persistence, how water shapes even the strongest rock through steady, determined flow. Hidden grottos and caverns. Beneath the surface, mountains guard secret realms of shadow. Caverns stretch into the earth like ancient lungs, breathing cool air scented with minerals and mystery. Stalactites hang like icy daggers, dripping rhythmically into silent pools that mirror the faint glow of mineral veins. In these hidden grottos, time seems suspended. Footsteps echo endlessly, and the darkness feels neither threatening nor empty, only ancient, patient, and full of whispered histories. The breath of altitude. Climbing upward, the air thins until each breath feels sharp and pure, as though filtered through clouds themselves. The body adjusts slowly, learning to savor every inhalation. Scents shift with the altitude, pine giving way to stone, moss giving way to frost. Wind carries a kind of clarity here, brushing the skin with a coolness that wakes the senses. The breath of altitude is both invigorating and humbling, reminding travelers that these heights are not simply visited, they are earned. Moss and lichen kingdoms. On boulders, fallen logs, and ancient tree trunks, tiny kingdoms flourish unnoticed. Moss grows in velvety carpets of emerald green, softening the edges of stone and holding morning dew in delicate droplets. Lichens paint the rock in pale blues, yellows, and whites, living tapestries of slow, quiet growth. Together they create miniature landscapes, hills, forests, and horizons small enough to be held in the palm of a hand yet old enough to outlast empires. Ridge walks and narrow paths. Walking along a narrow ridge feels like balancing on the border between earth and sky. A single step to either side reveals sweeping drops into sprawling valleys or jagged cliffs. The wind is stronger here, unbroken by trees or slopes, brushing clothes and hair as it rushes past. Each footstep carries a reverent caution, yet the reward is unparalleled. From this height, peaks stand like watchful guardians, and the world unfolds in every direction, breathtaking and boundless. The language of birds. Mountain birds communicate in melodies shaped by open air and towering cliffs. Their calls ring bright in the morning light, echoing across slopes as though stitching together the fabric of the day. Peregrines cry from rocky ledges, small songbirds trill from forest canopies, and ravens croak wise, ancient notes that seem to carry meaning beyond sound. Their voices create a living soundtrack, one that rises, falls, and shifts with the rhythms of the mountains. The solitude of high peaks at the summit, silence reigns with profound grace. Wind whispers softly, snow crunches underfoot, and the beating of one's own heart feels impossibly loud. The world below seems distant, softened by altitude and perspective. Standing here, solitude becomes a companion rather than an absence, a chance to listen inwardly while being held in the mountain's vast embrace. Time stretches, slows, and then seems to disappear entirely. Avalanches and falling snow. When snow breaks loose from a steep slope, it begins with a subtle crack, like a branch snapping in the cold. Then the mountain moves. A wave of white sweeps downward, roaring with a power both frightening and magnificent. The ground trembles, and clouds of snow rise into the air, obscuring everything in blinding brilliance. When the sound fades, stillness returns, leaving behind a transformed landscape, a reminder that mountains rewrite themselves without warning. The glow of alpine sunlight, high-altitude sunlight, holds a clarity unmatched anywhere else. It reflects off snow with dazzling brilliance, casts warm patches on rocky outcrops, and illuminates the air in a soft golden haze. Even the shadows feel different here, sharper, deeper, more dramatic. Alpine sunlight makes every detail visible, the veins in leaves, the grains of stone, the shimmer on rushing water. It paints the mountains in a radiance that feels almost sacred. Mountain dreams and mythologies across cultures and centuries, mountains have inspired legends. Some are said to house spirits, gods, or ancestors. Others are revered as gateways to hidden realms. Travelers speak of dreams where peaks move like living guardians or where stars rest upon summits like lanterns. Stories of heroes, hermits, and mystical beings cling to cliffs and valleys, passed down through generations. In every myth, mountains become more than stone. They become symbols of hope, fear, wisdom, and eternity. Glacial caves and blue ice. Inside glaciers, the world transforms into a place of shimmering wonder. Light refracts through compacted ice, turning cave walls into waves of deep blue and turquoise. The air is cold, pure, and strangely timeless. Meltwater drips in slow rhythms, echoing softly in the icy chamber. Walking through these frozen halls feels like stepping into the heart of winter itself, a world carved by centuries of pressure and silence. The forest floor and its stories. The forest floor is a world of its own, a mosaic of fallen needles, rich soil, tangled roots, and tiny lives. Insects move beneath the surface. Fungi spread unseen networks. Leaves decay slowly, becoming nourishment for future growth. Every log becomes a home for moss, every stone a shelter for small creatures. Look closely, and the forest floor reveals layers of stories woven through time, each one contributing to the quiet hum of life. High cliffs and sheer walls. Cliffs rise like vast stone cathedrals, their faces carved by wind, water, and ice. Vertical grooves and jagged edges tell of centuries of change. Birds nest in narrow crevices and hardy plants cling to impossible perches. Looking up from the base, the cliffs seem infinite. Looking down from their heights, the world seems impossibly small. High cliffs and sheer walls. Cliffs rise like vast stone cathedrals, their faces carved by wind, water, and ice. Vertical grooves and jagged edges tell of centuries of change. Birds nest in narrow crevices and hardy plants cling to impossible perches. Looking up from the base, the cliffs seem infinite. Looking down from their heights, the world seems impossibly small. In their towering presence, one feels both humbled and inspired. Alpine lakes at dawn before the sun clears the peaks. Alpine lakes sit in complete stillness, reflecting the soft twilight sky.